It's an idea taken from the art world, right? That's where NFT started, saying here is one copy of a painting, therefore here is one copy of a picture or whatever. And that's not how music works, right? There's no one copy of a piece of music. You even when you bought music for like 50, 60, 100 years, everybody bought multiple copies of it. So I don't think that sort of idea of one really works.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Vibrations third edition. For 3 weeks, we have been gathering here on Tuesday evenings, at least in Central Europe. This is evenings for us. Other places, other times. I'm very excited to have a chat today with, I'm sorry, but I don't dare to pronounce your name. I should have been more prepared with that. From A.live Music, we're going to talk about a lot of things touching on Web3 and music mainly, and we are going to do circles around the topic. And then we will also talk about A.live Music, what you guys are doing in the Web3 space. I'm really excited to talk about that. And towards the end of our vibration, I would like to give a few updates if there is new people joining in about RaveFaces. We have a lot of things going on, and I'm very excited to talk about that as well. The founder of RaveFaces together, Side Spiral and Insane Hits. How are you guys doing?
Doing well, thanks. Beautiful.
Awesome. Then let's begin by inviting a wonderful guest, and I would like to ask you to join now with your mic, and please start with helping me pronounce your name, because I don't dare with that.
Yeah, it's cool. Hi, thanks everyone. This is Abhijit.
Abhijit, that's how you say it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful, beautiful. Yeah, so Abhijit is the founder, if I'm correct, of A.live Music, which is a wonderful community that is just starting to be built in the Web3 space. As I said, we're going to talk about that a little bit later, because first I would like to discuss topics about Web3 and Web3 music, NFTs, and such. A few questions that we might talk about is Web3 just NFTs or something more? Why should musicians care about Web3? I think that's a very up-to-date topic in 2022 with the current state of the music industry. What is the release strategy in Web2 and how can Web3 change that? What are some Web3 approaches to music creation, release that are good examples of what Web3 enabled artists to do? And perhaps what is the 5 types of fan theory? We might touch on that as well, which is an article that A.live Music has published on Mirror. But yeah, let's start.
Beautiful. That's a beautiful article. I've just read it.
Yeah, it's really amazing. We're really looking forward to the follow-up article. The article ends with that with teasing that there is more coming soon.
Yeah, part 2 is coming soon, I guess.
Yeah, I really should get to it. It's about half written, so I think next week we should have part 2.
Yeah, cool.
Sounds great.
Yeah, by the way, Abhijit, where are you from?
I'm Indian. I split my time between New York and Bangalore in India. Most of our tech backend is here, and all the other stuff is in the US.
Awesome. How big is your team?
We have about 15 people right now.
15?
Yeah. That's mostly engineering, a couple of people on, community marketing, things like that, artist acquisition.
Yeah, that sounds pretty big. For now, we are doing RaveFaces 4 or 5 of us, I believe, and sometimes other people are joining in for little jobs, but it's mainly the 3 of us with Side Spiral and Instant Hits. But obviously we are also just starting out, and we have a very different project. You are delivering a very complex product. And as I was reading, you're also playing the charade, right?
That's right. Yeah, so that's actually why A.live started. It's because I've played music all my life. So while I've primarily worked on the business side, I did go to music college. I went to Berkeley in Boston when I was really old. So I quit work when I was 32 when I decided that I needed to get back to music and do it more seriously. So I quit and I went off and got this music degree in jazz composition, which is of absolutely no use in the real world. But it was fabulous. Yeah, so that's actually it's not just like an interesting work thing for me. It's actually like there's a good reason why I'm doing it, because I think things need to change in how music is consumed, how musicians get paid, how the industry can change, and so on. So yeah, so I do to the sarod. It's like a fretless lute. It has 19 strings on it, of which you play only 4. The rest are sort of vibrating synthetics that add sort of this quasi reverb to the sound.
So it's as far as I was looking, it's pretty similar to the sitar.
Yeah. So the sitar is fretted, and the sarod isn't. It's like an oud. If you're familiar with the Middle Eastern instrument, so yeah, and it has a skin top rather than a wooden top that most fretted like string instruments do.
Yeah, I guess that changes the tone a lot. Yeah, very cool. And very interested. Did you play guitar or the sarod when you were studying in Berkeley?
So they don't have a sarod major. So
well, maybe you should start one.
Yeah. No, so I did a composition degree. So I only had to play music for 4 semesters. But I studied guitar when I was as my major instrument there, like my primary instrument. But I was really fun on writing music rather than playing. So I didn't end up playing that much.
I love that you're saying that you studied jazz composition in Berkeley, and then now you're. You're saying that the degree itself is not that it's unrelated, but it's not like useless. Basically, that's what you said, I guess. And, but still, it's the starting points. I mean, without that, not necessarily the paper, but that's how the whole project that you're doing now started. That you studied jazz composition. That's where it got inspired from. That's where you learned about the world, what is needed to be done, and that's how you chose your path, I guess.
Yes, yes. I mean, I've been playing for long before that. So I've been playing for 25 years now. Yeah. So basically, that the reason for doing it is because I've been playing that long. The degree, happened later, but and it helped because it just put you effectively at the center of the music industry, right? And like so many generations of how the music industry has changed, and the business has changed, because Berkeley is almost unique in that it's a popular music college, right? It's not a conservatory in the European sense. It's an extremely modern music school where you can choose computer as your major instrument, for example.
Awesome. But there's also an option to study blockchain there, right?
Probably now, actually. I haven't followed, but I'm sure somebody's teaching blockchain in the music business program right now. So yeah, they're very sort of with it. I didn't do any music business courses, but like friends of mine who did speak very highly of it, and it's a very, very well developed sort of portion of the school. They've also been like super helpful now, just in terms of conversations, reaching out to artists, reaching out to people in the industry who've been through the school, and so on. So it's a really great sort of networking place as well.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, when I was coming out of high school, I also played music. I studied jazz piano, and before that, I was playing in a klezmer band on the accordion. And I was really thinking whether I should choose the professional music direction or I should do something else. And then that's how I ended up meeting Psy Spiral, that I studied media design. And that's how we became friends and did a ton of projects together, including playing in the same band, actually, several times. Yeah, but well, music
Yeah,
is.
actually, we'll have a performance quite soon, but I just don't remember the date.
Well, I think that as far as I remember, that performance has been cancelled and has been moved. I'm not cancelled; has been rescheduled. It was supposed to be in like next week, but then it has been rescheduled to September or something.
Really? September? Okay. I didn't know that actually. I thought it's going to happen during the summer.
Maybe end of August, but anyhow, yeah.
Okay.
Where are you folks actually? I didn't ask. Where in Europe?
We are from Budapest, Hungary.
Nice.
Yeah, so really other parts of the world.
Yeah,
But that's what Web3 is about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you've been saying that playing or having gone to Berkeley and being in the scene and having been playing music for 25 years, you really got to know the music business. So how did you end up in Web3? How did you get to know about Web3 and what inspired you to start a business in Web3?
Yeah, so actually, like the last 2 years, especially the pandemic, I started thinking about a business that would change how musicians can actually make money and build careers. That was the starting point. Web3 is, to me, like a solution. It's not the starting point. It's just a new way to unlock stuff. So we actually iterated through 2 or 3 ideas before we got here. And sort of the first idea was the idea of if, like, people keep talking about the creator economy and how creatives can sort of monetize directly from their fans and so on and so forth. And I kind of thought, there's Patreon that sort of does things as a horizontal, which means that a creator of any type can sort of monetize. But then you have verticals, right? So like Substack is effectively a Patreon for writing. So I said, can you build a Patreon that's kind of vertical for musicians, where musicians can sort of come in and do a bunch of stuff and fans can pay them directly. Spend some time on that idea, and the problem is that there are so many different ways for fans to that fans want to see or get from musicians, that doing it as an app doesn't really make sense because it's very confusing. So are you guys familiar with Pandora, the app from like 10, 12 years ago, the streaming app? So the founder of Pandora,
I think I remember.
Yeah, it was actually like bigger than Spotify. Like everybody thought the next big thing would be Pandora, like back then. So the founder of Pandora actually is building that. He's building a vertical Patreon for musicians. It's called sessionslive.com. And as that was, it came up a little after we started, and we realized that app paradigm just is bad. So that's when we said, and that's also when some conversation started around Web3 for music, right? And saying you can sell music NFTs, you can do all this stuff. And I looked at most of it and I said, this just talks about ownership, the idea of ownership of music. And I felt that's not enough, because I think like NFTs as they exist now, it's an idea taken from the art world, right? That's where NFT started, saying here is one copy of a painting, therefore here is one copy of a picture or whatever. And that's not how music works, right? There's no one copy of a piece of music. Even when you bought music for like 50, 60, 100 years, everybody bought multiple copies of it. So I don't think that sort of idea of one really works. So if you have to change how Web3 does stuff for musicians, or even whatever it does for musicians, you have to change how people consume music, right? And if you change the mode of consumption, the value of consumption will change as well accordingly. And that's really important. And people keep saying this, that music is like a background activity. People listen to music in the background when they're working, when they're doing something else, blah, 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 all of those things, right? So I said and I think that's because of streaming. Because if you're getting all the music in the world for effectively free, then none of it has value, right? If something's free, you won't value how it's consumed. And
Yeah.
When people say that it's lean back, I'm like, that's just a behavior pattern imposed by streaming. If I told you 10 years ago, hey man, do you want to watch a 10-hour long movie? You would say, are you crazy, right? But people regularly do it now. They will binge watch 10 episodes at one go, which is exactly the same as a 10-hour movie, right? So the medium sort of changes how you consume stuff. And the thing is that for music, the biggest sort of consumption change was like 40 years ago when MTV came, right? Because you now had video as part of the music, which wasn't just an add-on, but was actually like a new art form, right? Like you would literally wait in the 80s and 90s for music videos of songs to launch, like they
Yeah,
were
but
movies.
yeah, I think you're. Sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah.
It's just it's a great conversation, and you mentioned so many things, and I have so many thoughts. So um, I was thinking of, yeah, you're saying that with MTV, yeah, also some visuals had been added to the music, so it's a different way of consuming music. And what I see is that the customization of music is something which is popping up here and there. And for example, there is this guy Kanye West, um, and he actually launched his new music playing
Yeah.
product. I don't know how is it titled, to be
Donda
honest.
player. Yeah, Donda stem player, I think it's
Yeah,
called.
could be. Yeah, and you can change the music. Actually, you can turn down some layers of the music, and mix it for yourself how you like it, so you can customize the music basically.
Right.
Um, and I think this could be a deal, but still it takes out something, because if you customize it, then I don't know, there is people spending tons of hours and shitloads of money on creating those master mixes, which can sound good here and there. And I don't know, maybe it's just outdated that right now. I don't know.
Yeah. So like I don't know if you've played around with A.live. You can do that on A.live as well.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So
I haven't played
yeah.
around with it, but I've just seen that there's a feature like this. So yeah, that's what I
Right.
mentioned actually.
Yeah. So just to complete, I'll just get to this in a second because it's like it's kind of part of that big vision that I was speaking of. So my
Yeah.
point was that and it's a really long answer to like a one question that you asked about Web3, but anyway, so
Yeah, sorry,
if you had,
I was just popping up of the
cool, cool,
answer.
cool.
That's fine. Just
And,
go on.
no worries. Yeah, so my point was that if you had to rebuild that kind of experience today of a new art form for music, a new visual form, well, that would be immersive and interactive. And the two are actually different things. People sort of conflate the two, but immersive and interactive don't mean the same thing. If you had to build that, how would you build it? And the answer then became sort of clear as a single idea saying, every song is a world, which is our tagline, right? Every song is a world that should be available for fans to be in and change, both visually or in terms of audio, etc., etc. It becomes a playground and it opens up the song to you. And that can mean many, many different things, and we'll keep adding features as we keep going, of course. But the sort of core idea is that if you're inside the song, your friends are inside the song, the artist is inside the song, aspects of the song are inside the song, that becomes like a new playground for music itself. And one of the pieces of that is something like the stem player thing, right? Where you can listen to each instrument separately, listen to the beat drop a certain way, listen to a particular moment in the song, loop it, and ultimately actually create user-generated content from it, right?
Yeah.
So if you remember how TikTok started, it literally was an app called Musically, right? Which was you could dance to songs that were playing in the background and post those. It sounds so silly as a standalone product, but it was massive. Like being away from the constraints of the real world and having all this tech at our disposal today, you could really reimagine how music works and open it up to fans to do things that you could never do before.
Yeah.
Um,
Actually, one thing came to my mind about the video customization thing. I bought a DVD. It was a Queen concert, Wembley concert DVD, and you could choose which cam you wanted to watch. Because there was a Brian May cam, there was so you could actually customize a little bit for yourself, or you could watch the whole thing for the whole show from a different perspective. It just came to my mind as an analogy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah. Sorry, go on.
No. Yeah. So things like that. So, for example, the next version you'll see. Let me quickly also say what the app does of this giant vision right now. So, you sort of every song releases on A.live in a release party, where you have all of you as fans, your avatars can enter the world together and fly around in it. You pick up objects that unlock things for you. So you could pick up one filter effectively that made the whole world black and white suddenly. Or you could pick up one that unlocked the lyrics.
Wow. I just want to add, wow, man.
Yeah,
wow. Go on, but wow.
Yeah, it's very cool. And then there are like 5 or 6 segments of the world that will be different for each world. Like it'll visually, aesthetically represent what the music is, which is hard to build, but we're sort of getting there slowly. And one of the zones is the performance zone, right? Is where the musicians are actually performing the song. And that can be either as avatars of the band or can be what's called volumetric video. So if you remember the Matrix, where the first Matrix, where you remember that scene where the camera went all the way around the musician.
Yeah, so and it was shot with like 200 DSLRs. It's awesome.
Exactly. Now you can do it with 10, by the way, or with one. With one camera. One camera is like low quality, 10 cameras is like studio quality. And there are like 40 companies in the world that will allow you to record that. So you can record your performance as individuals, as a band, and plop that into the world. And unlike the real world, where the band will be, let's say, all arranged in front of you, you can arrange these whichever way you want, right? Like the bassist can be 60 feet higher and 20 meters to the left of the singer, for example, right? So you can the artists can arrange themselves however, and you as the user can fly between the band as they're performing. And as you do, the sound actually changes inside your head if you're wearing headphones, right? Because we have access to the stems. So that's immersive. That's immersive in a way that doesn't exist today, right? I can't be on stage with the band.
Do you consider this as a game or as a music, listening platform?
Yeah, so my CTO and I keep talking about this all the time.
I can imagine that.
Yeah, so he used to work at Pixar and then at Electronic Arts, the guys who make the FIFA video game and a bunch of other huge video games. So he comes from the game world. He's worked on many games. So his point of view is that you need to drive people to keep doing actions to maintain interest, which I agree with. And my sort of frame is that all of that must be in service to people loving music more, rather than becoming a series of, let me do this next. So it's a fine balance. It is gamified to the extent that you need to speak the same language as the video game. But it shouldn't become a game.
If I just want to... I understand this perspective, and this it can be really engaging, and the whole idea is really stunning. I'm just want to challenge the idea, because let's make it a great conversation. So if I'm just a simple listener, and I just want to listen to whatever classic rock playlist, because I'm just doing something and I just want to listen to music. Your platform is not the best for me in this case, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or do you have any solutions to cover these people as well?
Yep. No, great point. So this is also, by the way, the number one question all VC investors have asked me. When we speak to them, so I think you'll start with superfans, right? The first adopters of your product will be fans of that artist who want this enhanced thing. They may not always even listen to the song in this format. There's no way. Like every time, I'm not going to fly.
Yeah.
I'll do this feature once. There's a behind the scenes feature where you can go. There's a demo feature. I mean, you can basically add like bonus content to the video that makes you want to keep going back, and so on and so forth. But I won't do that every time, right? So that's step one. Two is for people on the go, so to speak. There's also like a 2D version of the same thing. It's like a app that we'll have where one, you can fly around on an app rather than on a browser, which we currently have, which is easier, increases the number of people who are interested and so on, but also have the same features in 2D. So if I want to go behind the scenes, I can just like do that by clicking a button rather than having to be in that world. So that makes it slightly more portable. But we'll also add like fun, interesting features, right? And which are suitable for more casual listening. And this works well for some types of music rather than others. So if A.live we are now 2 years into the future. A.live has 100,000 songs on it that have released. You can set up your playlist and you decide to go running. And it kind of beat syncs to your running. It becomes faster, and the music you're listening to becomes faster or slower as you run.
Or it stops.
Or stops because you're lazy.
Sounds great.
So that kind of slowly gets into like more passive use cases, or because we have again access to stems, access to like AI tech, whatever. It actually mashes bits of the songs you have together and creates like an entirely new song. That's fresh to you. So that's kind of all of those pieces that you spoke about, of the idea of music not being static anymore, of music becoming kind of mashed up, interactive, whatever you want to call it. Those we'll slowly start getting into. I think that it's like a chicken and egg problem, right? You have to do it with songs that you are licensed to have. So this only works when you have a certain minimum number of songs on the platform. But when it does, because we have so much of the background metadata, stems, blah blah blah, we can now start breaking music apart into its constituent parts.
I love this metaphor that you are calling running as a passive way of listening to music. It's really fun. I really want to go back to this topic that there's the passive way of listening to music, such as listening to a classic rock playlist on Spotify, and there would be opposed to this the active way of listening to music with A.live. And it's very interesting that Spiral has tapped into this perfect question where all the where all the VC investors are asking. But my feeling is that success comes when you are being able to be different, and you're being able to go with the active way of listening to music, because this thing doesn't exist. There is the Kanye West type of you can make it louder and whatever, play with the stems, which most probably for Kanye West fans is fun. I don't know about this one, so can't comment on it, but I think you should, from a musician's point of view, me being a musician, and a music fan point of view, I would definitely enjoy a platform which is different from YouTube, which, like, most probably the biggest interactivity that I can get is the 360 videos, when I can look around with my mouse, or like, okay, wow, thanks, I'm boring. I mean, at least the content released on it is not exciting for me, but having an immersive environment where I can skate, surf in the wind around, and or whatever game the artist can design with your game builder, if there is such. Maybe we can speak about the topic as well, and get the whole thing black and white and turn on effects on the visuals and the music. I mean, of course, this is on the border of being a game and being a music experience, but that's a truly futuristic, immersive, interactive experience, which is the starting point is the music, and the starting point is the musician artist. And there's there's a whole complex economy that could be built around A.live, that different type of creators, world builders, graphic designers, 3D artists, programmers, and so on and so forth, could be in a team. And I just find this super interesting.
Right.
I don't know.
No.
Sorry, man. Just go on.
No, nothing. Go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I think like Spotify went big when he could bring all the music to his platform. So not just the ones which has released on that platform in that time, but on Spotify you can find everything from the 50s, 60s. So it's just a huge library of songs, and I think that's why it works. And yeah, there is another side of it, that there is a lot of potential of new artists to just get into playlist, and then get more publicity or something. But I'm just wondering, if you do not bring all the music to your music platform, can it work or not as a music platform?
I think that's the point, that he doesn't bring all the music. That it's exclusive to a certain artist who brings their own music themselves.
Right.
Yeah, but what about the listener perspective?
Yeah, so it goes back to that thing. I think streaming will continue, right? Like, I don't think we will get rid of Spotify as if not the primary, like a very, very important way that people listen to music. I would flip it and say again, going back to MTV, like every song did come on MTV, right? People released music on MTV, and it was how you discovered new music almost. So maybe we'll get to the point where every song in the world is here, but I doubt it. But it becomes maybe like TikTok is today, where artists break, where artists get discovered. This is that all music gets discovered on A.live because it releases there. Artists actually make a lot more money here because of all of the unlocks and so on, which I can talk about briefly later. And then, the vast majority of people actually end up listening to music on Spotify passively in the future. Right? That's fine. I think what it changes is, like today, if I'm a super fan of a band, how can I discover more of their music, or discover more than just listening to that song on Spotify? There's actually not that much, right? Because it's completely flat. Like, in terms of, oh yeah, sure, I can go to a live gig, but you live in Budapest, I live in India. They're not playing here. I might buy their song on Bandcamp, but it's not fundamentally different from listening to the same music on Spotify. So I don't bother as a result. Because why am I downloading the MP3 if I can listen to it on Spotify anyway? I might buy the vinyl because I like to have the vinyl with me. But if you ask any artist today that's trying to release on vinyl, shipping dates are 18 months from today, if you put in an order.
Yeah, I always support my
and it's expensive.
artist.
And it's expensive to put in a minimum order. All of those things, right? So
doesn't make too much money on vinyl. I mean,
you break even.
Expensive.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what this kind of changes. Saying I got 1 million streams and I made $7,000 on it if I'm lucky. But I have these 1,000 people who now care very deeply about the music. They actually went on A.live and bought the most expensive edition. Some of them bought the royalties of my future music. Some of them came to my release party and they bought the skin of my band to wear on it. Some of them remixed the music and put up new versions of that music that also got popular, that I got some money from. So the ways that I can monetize my music and the ways that I can actually make money from the people who actually care about my music, that goes up exponentially, I think. And that's why, to my first point, I think Web3 is the enabler. Web3 is not the solution. Web3 is the enabler that will create new ways for making money for musicians and being closer to their fans, right?
Sure.
You'll have both. I don't think you'll get rid of the vast majority of people listening to music on Spotify unless the consumption form really changes and something fabulous happens in this world. Did you read about that Kate Bush thing? Kate Bush from the 80s has a song that is on the new Stranger Things soundtrack, and it's now gone to number 1 or number 2 across the world, right? And people were saying, amazing, that's so great. People have discovered this new music, and then somebody made the point that you do know that she made less money from that song going number 1 than a plumber would in a month.
Yeah.
Right? So that even going to number 1 in the world for an artist doesn't mean that much in terms of them actually making money from it.
Yeah, you're
And that's
making a
sad.
huge point.
And that should change.
Yeah, but also, those producers could pick another song, or they could just, you know, pay somebody to compose a song. But I think the system is fucked, because even if your song is picked, you are just not getting the money. Or maybe you just made some bad contract, back in the day. But it's still crazy.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And those contracts aren't going to change. And the one other slightly sad thing, again from our perspective, is you can change all of this stuff for maybe new musicians, right? Who are coming up and who say actually the label is completely unnecessary, blah blah blah. I actually don't think that's going to happen, but let's assume even that happens. 85% of music consumption is old music. It's not new music for the industry as a whole. So what happens to all of that music?
Yeah, that's why I asked this
Yeah.
question, the rest of the music and whatever.
So, and that's why, maybe not, maybe it'll be our solution, maybe it won't. This is also like some sort of interactive medium is how the labels will resell their catalog again. That's what they're struggling with today, right? They're sort of struggling with saying, okay, we sold vinyl, then we sold cassettes, then we sold CDs, then we sold iTunes downloads. And now there's nothing to sell because all the music in the world is on streaming.
Yeah.
What do we sell next? So it'll be some form of what we are doing. It may not be us. There'll be like any other industry, there'll be 30 companies that sort of try to build something and 2 or 3 survive. But something like this will come, and something that will again open up the music industry to people buying things again. It will. And it'll happen hopefully this time in a way that's different from how the music industry does things every time, which is control IP very tightly. Licensing is a nightmare. All of those pieces, and embrace something that's closer to how the gaming industry handles it, which is saying, guys, the more user-generated content you make or whatever, the bigger our industry gets. Which is why you have, like Twitch, right? Gaming companies don't shut down people from playing video games the whole day and streaming their gameplay because it actually grows their market. But the biggest strike downs on Twitch are because somebody's played some music in the background that is licensed owned by some label. The day they sort of get out of that mindset and discover that the remixing of music and the repurposing of music and the user-generated versions of music actually make them bigger, that's when this whole unlock will happen of this new type of format for the world.
There's a lot of interesting things that we're talking about, and we have really been going from a big perspective and then getting wider and then getting smaller and getting smaller. I would like to direct this conversation towards getting even smaller. I'm getting super excited about this project as a musician, not just as for our project RaveFaces. I see a lot of opportunities of what we could be doing in your A.live metaverse. So I have this formation, this live act called Psyporn. That's my music act. I do visuals as well, and ever since I have started making music, I've been dreaming about this immersive performance, which I have sort of delivered on stage, where visuals as projections and lights are reacting to the music. So there's like the tech behind that is allowing this to happen, all with some kind of improvisation on the stage with live musicians. And right now I'm translating that to music videos where I make these kind of immersive abstract worlds and create these abstract animations where music is driving the animation, so it's all audio active. So I'm super interested in your platform. I would like to ask you, what are the steps that you are taking or that you're offering to artists like me to onboard, and what are the tools that I can use to create my world?
Great question. So right now because it's early, we're sort of We onboard people one at a time. We now have our for artist sections on the site as well, where you can sign up and we'll add you to the list. But the idea is in about 4 months. We're working on it now 4 or 5 months. You will have a world builder in which you can actually go and create it without us needing to be involved. And you can go in, you can choose from 10 genre-based templates and then 10,000 procedurally generated templates within that to pick your world, and then you can change many, many things inside those. You can change the objects that things sit on, you can import files, you can import your performances themselves, as I mentioned earlier. You can add like event-based things. So a simple example is, let's say it starts like verse 2 of your song is about rain. You can choose rain as an element and it only starts raining in verse 2 when the lyrics become about rain, for example. You can add some of those visual things that you spoke about, which are kind of MIDI synced or like beat mapped to the music, where the sky will sort of pulsate with light in a certain way when the music is, it interacts with the music in the same way, as you said. And we're actually going quite deeply into that for like the electronic music world that we do, because it's such a big part of electronic music, just that interplay of light and so on and so forth. You can actually make it active even there. So one of the things, another electronic music act that we were working with spoke about, said, when I perform live, the more as people start coming in, I actually add layers to the music and it starts getting faster, right? Well, you can programmatically put that into your live performance, saying when more than 1,000 people enter the listening party, the song will get faster, or one more synth layer gets added, blah blah blah, things like that. So you can actually do a lot of things to make it your world, your own, both visually and in terms of how it interacts with the song itself as you keep going. So that's the vision. This will take us 4 or 5 months to do. But even before that, if you or any other artists want to sort of get onboarded, there's a link on the site. Just go to the for artist section and sign up with email, and we'll get back in touch ASAP. The only caution I would, of course, add to that is if the artist is like super small at the moment, they may find that not enough people came. So that's, the danger of any early platform, of being early. It can also be extremely beneficial, of course, as we are seeing with Sound.xyz or Royal or any of those platforms where musicians actually have made like life-changing money on the platform. But I just want to flag it early so that people don't get disappointed, saying, we're young. If you're an artist with, one performance in your life and 200 streams on Spotify, we may not be the best fit just yet. But anybody who sort of is medium-sized, small to medium-sized, has built up a little bit of an audience, I think is actually the perfect fit, because the 5,000 people that care about you will actually all come for the live party, hopefully, right?
Yeah, I definitely would love to publish my music on your platform, man. So I think I will. I think what you're doing is just so inspiring. I think we are kind of getting into the end of this event.
Sure.
So if you have any questions to our amazing guest, just go for it now.
Yeah, if anybody has questions, please raise your hand, and we are going to add you as listeners. Excuse me. Yeah, seems like there's no questions. I think there is just hours and hours that we could listen to your vision. I'm very happy that we could have this conversation, and you could inspire us. I really hope that we are going to be able to collaborate further with A.live and RaveFaces. We are right now in the phase of building our community and onboarding artists to our community, both visual and musicians. And actually, right now I'm in the talks with Endless, if you know about them.
Yeah, very well.
I'm talking with the Tripped Sip, which is an amazing, relatively small but amazing Web3 community who are creating a tool that creates visuals, audio-active visuals. And then I'm also talking to 0xM, so they're working really hard on collaborating with other projects so that we can spread the word about RaveFaces. Just a word, I want to make a word on what RaveFaces is about. We are building a platform for artists to collaborate, basically, and that's our main focus. We are going to have rituals, which is basically events, workshops where people can meet and they can create together. Obviously, in all of these workshops or rituals, we're going to provide them an environment, such as Endless can be an environment for that, where they can create together, jam together, so on and so forth. Obviously, for visual artists and musicians as well, and visual artists with musicians, so it's combined. And then we're going to have these rituals, and artists are going to create their art, and then we are going to mix their art with the RaveFaces original NFT collection. So that's the first step of launching our project, or going towards our mint. And I really hope that we will be able to release some of this art on your platform. You're saying that 4 or 5 months from now, adding 20% time for the development, there's going to be a world builder.
As I said, sorry, I mean, 4 or 5 months is when you don't need our input at all. You can just do all of it yourself. But even before that, if you sign up, we'll work with you to release stuff here. That's it's just a question of us doing it custom or like working with you versus it being like completely open platform for anybody to put up music on. That's the 4 or 5 month timeline. But right now we are onboarding artists to release stuff in like early August as well.
Awesome. Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Spiral, Insane, is there any other questions as a final thought?
I just want to say that it was a nice conversation. I really loved it. And this is so inspiring project. So I'm so glad that we are here and collaborating together. So it's just brilliant. Thanks for coming, man.
No, this was great. I really loved talking about it, and we should keep the conversation going offline. Would love to see what the community brings with the artists you're working with you folks. Anything we can do to help, on other stuff. Happy to work with you, and let's hope this all becomes big and exciting for everyone concerned.
Brilliant.
Awesome.
I'm in.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Abhijit. I would like to close this third vibration with a musical thought. This is going to be the music that I was trying to play on the previous vibration, but due to technical errors, I was not able to do it. But today seems like everything is working fine, and I would like to show you our first really quick but fun collaboration with Spiral as RaveFaces. So I would like to first play you a riff that Spiral sent me, and then I will play you the song that I made. It's just like a really, really fast one, but to give you some RaveFace energy for the day, for the rest of the day, whatever time zone you're. I guess Abhijit is just like morning for you. So hopefully there's going to be some RaveFace energy for the rest of your day. And I think that's going to be the outro of today's vibrations. So thanks everybody for joining, and now I'm going to turn off my mic and just play you the songs.